I'm so grateful that every single one of you are here. We are sitting here together now over 60 days after the most devastating attack on the Jews that we have seen since the Holocaust. Before October 7th, survivor testimonies were something that we would hear from people in their 80s, in their 90s. And today we are joined by a young man whose only crime was going to a festival that celebrated peace, life, and humanity. With God's grace, he made it out alive. But there are over 1,200 innocent people who did not have the same fate. We have had hundreds of hostages being held in Gaza, and we are still waiting for 160 of them to come home. We still have a lot of work to do, and that is why we're here. Asaf, who's going to be speaking with you, shared his favorite song, the song that you just listened to. And when I asked him what this song means to him, he wrote to me the following text. Even if today was hard, I'll wake up to a new day that will be easier. And Asaf, we're here to join you in that sentiment, not only in dreaming a dream of true peace in this land and around the world, that our children and our grandchildren and future generations, we are here to implement in the way that each one of us uniquely can, so that we can say once and for all, never again. I am so grateful to have a panel of colleagues, compassionate people who've come to share their expertise with you about how to share the stories that the world needs to hear, how to tell those stories, and to reaffirm for us that we can do it. I am grateful to introduce Meira Brody, who will be speaking in a conversation with Asaf Aharon. She and Asaf are childhood friends. After going to high school in Israel and serving in the IDF as a medic, Meira went on to become involved as an activist for peace, building bridges, promoting peace for Israel, which means peace for humanity.
Thank you so much. My name is Meira, and I do activism on social media. And if you guys were here during the last Zoom, I spoke a lot more about that. But today, I'm just going to be having a conversation with Asaf. And I think towards the end of the Zoom, if you guys have any questions about how to make your videos more viral and what does well and what doesn't, I'm more than happy to give you guys some tips that have worked for me. So Asaf, like, as I said, he grew up with me in Bet Shemesh. I probably have known him since I was around 15 years old. We were a big group of kids, and he was probably the gentlest of all of the crazies. On October 7th, obviously a huge blow. We were finding out a lot of our friends were missing. A lot of our friends were killed. I had 6 friends who were at the Supernova Music Festival. And Asaf was one of the 2 friends that I had that escaped alive. Him and his friend, and our mutual friend David. And I can't describe to you the relief that I felt when I found out that he did survive. So I'm going to open it up to Asaf to tell us his story. Asaf's first language is Hebrew. So if he needs anything translated, I'll be doing that for him.
My name is Asaf, like you know, Asaf Aharon. I'm 26 years old, living in Bet Shemesh. I've got 2 brothers, big brothers, working in a security company, and I'd like to go to.
Asaf, if you can tell us a little bit about the psytrance scene in Israel, because it's kind of this hidden thing that not a lot of people know about, but people that know about it know that it's huge. So could you tell us a little bit about that community that exists?
We are a little community. There is not a lot of people who like psytrance or trance music or trance festivals in Israel. The community is really good people inside there, and they love peace and love and just spread happiness wherever they can and wherever they want. The Nova community is it's a big community of the trans community in Israel. We know the producer, so they told us they're gonna do a big party in the 7th of October, and they invite me and a lot of my friends. Only me and another friend of mine went there, but yeah, we know them for a lot of time, this community.
Okay, so what is Nova all about? You already said it's about peace and community and love. But at what point did everything start, and when did you understand that things are not okay?
I still don't understand how that feels, that everything is not okay. I still don't believe this what happened in the 7th of October. 6 a.m. in the morning, me and my friend David Brumberg, we are in one of the stages of the party in the area, dancing like, I don't know how to explain that, but I felt so free, so peaceful. Half an hour after that, he put a hand on my shoulder, pointing to the sky, and I saw sunrise. Didn't understand what I saw. I saw funny clouds on the sky, but I didn't realize what I'm watching. 2 minutes after that, the music stops, and they told us in the speakers to evacuate from the area. There is אירוע ביטחוני, security event. We need to go away from the area and go home, basically. So we start running, hiding behind trees. After half an hour of hiding, we decided to go to the camping area, take our stuff, go to the car, and start driving home. It took a little bit of time because we need to find our car and my car, basically. I don't have the timeline exactly. I don't know what hours everything has happened. I know just it started at 6:30 a.m. and I get home at 6 p.m., something like that. After we take our stuff, run to the car, start driving, we get in a huge traffic, driving slowly. After that, few minutes after that, we start to hear shooting, but massive shooting. I didn't hear something like that in my life, and I was a warrior in the IDF, and I know what is shooting, and was not, I don't know how to explain that to you.
I think what you're describing is automatic gunfire versus single bullets, is you're hearing like chains of bullets coming out. And in the IDF, we don't shoot on automatic.
After that, was in the.
You could speak in Hebrew.
Still in the fields.
Okay,
still in the fields.
In an open field, yeah.
Yeah, in the open field. Before we get in the road of 232, this is the name of the road between Be'eri and Reim. Before we turn right to the direction we need to go, we saw a lot of cars coming from the other side, like got shoots without windows. People start running with blood on their body, and we didn't understand what we saw. We didn't understand. We didn't realize that this is what happened. We take the turn that we need to take, get it to another traffic. After a few minutes, we understand that we cannot get in the car. We cannot be in the car anymore. So we decided to go out from the car. Me and my friend get out from the car, look back. We saw, I think, 100 meters behind us. We saw the terrorists start shooting toward us. So we start running to the other side. I think 20 meters behind the cars, and turn right into the fields again.
I want to also just add, because you told me this previously, like you left the car running with the keys in the ignition. You had to leave your phone, like you couldn't take anything with you. It was a split-second decision, and it saved your life.
Yeah. So we start running, I think something like 3 or 4 kilometers in the fields. I don't know exactly how much we ran because I didn't have my phone. We managed to find cover behind, מתחת, under a tree. In the meantime, we're hearing shootings, we're hearing bombs. We thought in the beginning we're hearing war between the army and the terrorists, but after 1 hour of just hearing shoots and bombs, we understand there is no army inside. What we hear is in massacre. We'll be hearing the massacre. This is what we realize after a few minutes. We wait under the tree, I think 8 hours. I don't know exactly how much time we've been there. Yeah, till the rescue came and pick us up.
So
We were something like 10 people under the tree, 4 guys and 6 girls. One of the guys talked to his father and send our location to him, and he came to pick us up.
drove into a war zone, basically. Okay.
The first place he evacuate us was a gas station. It's like תחנה לאיסוף פצועים.
It turned into a mass casualty triage center.
We were 10 people in the car without the driver and the security guy who came to pick us up. We arrived to the gas station, we opened the door, and the first thing we saw, it's pile of bodies just lay there, and people hurting without just חבושים, bandage with blood on their body and screaming their life. We've been there for 10 minutes. They gave us water. When we drove from there to a place called יישוב מסלול. It's a town that they take us in to take our name, and from there everyone go to his home.
So my question is, like, at what point did your parents find out something was happening?
I think I talked to them in 1 p.m., something like that. Till then, they tried to call my phone and I didn't answer to them, and I don't know what they thought. I have a voice message for my mom. I start hearing that and she's crying her life, and I can hear that. I start and I finish it.
I already know what happened to your car, but I want other people to know as well, just how lucky you were to make that decision to run outside of your car and leave everything behind.
I don't know exactly what happened to her. It's all got ruined by a tank or hit by RPG. I don't know exactly, but something like that.
No more cars. But at least you're alive. Thank God you're alive. And that's what's important.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what happened to your friends? I know that you had a very close friend, Daniel, who was a DJ at one of those parties. And I don't know who set up a beautiful Instagram page in his memory. I highly recommend everybody can goes and follows just to keep his memory alive. But were you able to contact your friends afterwards? Did you lose friends? What was the situation?
I lost a lot of friends, a lot of people I know. I didn't know them directly, but I party with them in a lot of party in Israel. I have a few friends who kidnapped. Don't know what's going on with them. Hope they're gonna come back home. Yeah.
I want you to know I really appreciate you telling your story and being so open. I know it's really not easy to relive this, and I know you've been having to do it over and over again. Is there any way that we can help you move forward?
I think the support I want, it's only just spread this rumor, spread this, the knowing about what happened in the 7th of October. This is the most thing I want.
I knew you'd say
Just
nothing.
keep smiling and love Israel.
Thank you. For me, if you guys have any questions for me later, or any questions for Asaf, please feel free to ask.
I'm so grateful to Meira for reaching out to her friend Asaf and bringing him here tonight to tell the story. And I want to commend the both of you for your optimism and your laughter. And it's a really important way to deal with traumas. And it's absolutely incredible to hear after everything that you've been through and everything that you've seen. You had been spending quality time with so many people who in Israel, in a land that has been so committed to peace and freedom and democracy in such a difficult region where we don't have the privilege of having neighbors who appreciate our values. We've had a very, very difficult history. And we are a people that has had perpetual PTSD. And yet the young people get together and they dance together and they sing together and they hope together. Asaf, how did you become so hopeful about peace and about bringing people together in community and
I go to parties for a lot of time, and we have I don't know how to say it in English, but we have a sentence that we say we never stop dancing, no matter what, no matter what. And I know that all the people are gone dancing above us. I know that they are happy for us, and I can say I am happy for them, but they're in much, much better place than we are in now. And I'm hurting. I have a lot of friends that I don't gonna see anymore, but this is not the time to cry. The time to cry is after all the war is gonna finish, after we finished Gaza and in the north, and after we finish the war, this is the time for us to cry.
Asaf is a security guard, so just a day or two after this party, he was back at work protecting people. And it was the same with our friend David, who went immediately the next day, went back into military reserves. So I really do believe that the young people in Israel have this mindset of we have to go back and we have to protect our country. So really impressive mindset.
It's incredible, incredible resilience. Asaf, what keeps you strong? What gives you the strength in the morning after what you've seen to get out of bed and to do your job protecting citizens?
I have a psychologist. He really helped me about it. I talk to him about that every time. I think what's helped me is smiling and keep my head above the water. I know if I לשקוע בזה, איך אני אומר את זה?
If I let myself think.
If I sink to the feeling of hurt, it can take me backward and I want to go forward. I know my friends want me to go forward. I go to their funerals and I'm gonna go to their
memorials,
but they want me to keep smiling and be optimistic, and this is what helped me stay alive, I think.
I think that what people don't really humanize us, and you see that in the response after what happened at the Supernova Music Festival, and people's reaction is, oh, they were colonizers, they were settlers, they were Zionists. Like, no, they were people who were dancing in the name of peace, So I really think one of the things that we need to do is just like show like we're humans just like you are, and we deserve to live just the same way that you do. And this happened to us. This atrocity happened to us, and we're just like you.
We don't want war. This is the last thing we want.
Yeah.
But if we don't fight, Israel stop to exist. This is the reality of us. But yeah.
I mean, a lot of the people that were killed and a lot of people that were taken hostage were active members in organizations that were calling for peace. I mean, a great example is one of Asaf's friends, Hirsch, who, if you look at his bedroom, his whole bedroom was full of posters that were saying, like, you know, peace, not war. Jerusalem belongs to everyone, and he's still being held in Gaza right now.
This is Hirsch Goldberg, Poland. If anyone listening saw the cover of Time magazine, you would have seen his parents on the cover telling the story of what happened to Hirsch that day.
Hirsch was taken from the Supernova party into Gaza and is currently being held hostage. His mother's been doing absolutely amazing work, speaking out And the strength that it takes to do that, I can't even imagine. I also know that Asaf was friends with Hirsch, so it's pretty shocking to have somebody so close with you to know that they're currently, struggling for their life in Gaza. We really need to bring the hostages home.
What exactly happened to Hirsch was that his arm was blown off by grenades they were throwing into a safe dugout where he and several people were hiding. So yes, his arm was blown off and then he was taken into captivity and he's still there today.
One thing I know about him, I know a lot of things about him, but the most important that when they took him like a hostage, he didn't cry, he didn't make sound at all. They took his arm off, and he stayed silent. He's a really strong person, is what I know.
Hirsch's parents there's a page on Instagram called Bring Hirsch Home. And I've been watching it day after day, all the pictures of him, just like you, Asaf, young, peace-loving, kind, compassionate person, pictures of him in nature, pictures of him with his family. And I just keep asking them, what can we do? And their answer was to contact our government officials. So we're going to segue into taking action. And I wanted to share that piece from Hirsch's family. This is definitely something that we can all do on an ongoing basis. But you've already done something incredibly important, which is you have shown up to hear the true survivor, a true testimony of survival from Asaf. And I want to thank you so much, Asaf, for your bravery, for sharing your story. It is so important that the world hears it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
I want to share with you all that we are, Meira and I and Zoe Bermant, who's also here, and our speakers, we're all joining together to create a movement called Humanity POV. So you can see the logo. It's a fingerprint with a heart inside, because we believe that as unique as every single human is, as unique as their fingerprint, within every human being is a heart. Kabbalistic tradition, the ancient mystical tradition, teaches that within the heart of every human being can be heard the voice of truth. Why do people abandon that voice? Why does that voice become dim? People will abandon the voice of truth in order to belong. And we can see this very, very clearly playing out when we look around ourselves and we see people who know much better, but they're jumping on trends, they're jumping on bandwagons, and they've joined movements that they feel a part of. And so many of our brothers and sisters have joined movements around the world. They've joined Black Lives Matter. They were crying out, "Me too." They were marching for every single cause for humanity. And they woke up on the morning of October 8th and they looked around themselves at all the people that they had been marching for and supporting. And all of those people were silent. We are finding ourselves in a situation today where on college campuses, the most prestigious institutions, it appears as though well-educated people are either blind or full of hate. And that is something that I care deeply about. I've been asking myself why for a very long time. In 2014, I was studying my advanced degree at the University of Southern California. And I had a professor that I respected tremendously who was guiding me in writing a dissertation. And the dissertation, my professor was Black. And at the time I wasn't even comfortable writing the word Black. Do I capitalize it? Is it lowercase? It's capitalized. I learned that. I got comfortable pretty quickly because I wanted so badly to be respectful and to show up as the caring person that I am. And as we were working together and as he was guiding me doing this research, my research was how can white teachers from a dominant society empower young minds, young, predominantly Black lives from the lowest socioeconomic bracket. How can they cross cultures and help? And I went into juvenile halls and I met the deviant youth. And I started peeling back the layers and understanding the systems. And my heart would break, and I would sit with these kids in these poor schools and inside of juvenile halls, and I wanted so badly to help them. And then in the summer of 2014, as I was entering my last year, news broke out that 3 boys in Israel had been taken hostage by the terrorist group Hamas, and they were later pronounced murdered. And we know what happened that summer of 2014. But what happened for me was that I was completely written off. I was unfriended by my professors and several of my colleagues because I wanted to speak out on behalf of Jewish lives. And I made a decision that summer that as much as my heart was breaking for the urban youth of Los Angeles, and I was slated to become an educational leader in the United States of America, my true home is in Israel. And my priority is true peace. And I believe that by supporting Israel and by supporting true Jewish values, at our core, they are universal values where we envision a future of peace and prosperity for every human being. I picked myself up and I moved over here, but the problem in the universities has persisted and it has become a lot more complicated. People talk about Israel versus Palestinians. We have a global superpower that we are facing by way of Hamas on Israeli soil. At the same time, this Persian Empire has waged war on their own people. And as the young Iranians try to rise up in the name of freedom and in the name of peace, they are shutting off the internet and closing down communication. It is so unfortunate that what is uniting us here is a common enemy. But it is time, my friends and family, that we open our eyes and we peel back the curtain and we look at what is really happening. And what's really happening is that the Jewish people have gone back to where they came from. And where we came from is a very, very difficult place to live because of what we are surrounded with. And yet we have chosen to do the ultimate experiment. Can we found a state of freedom and peace surrounded by people that want nothing other than to exterminate us? And we are living that experiment, and we are watching the data come forward in real time. So I would like to really invite everyone, to all of us, to open our eyes and open our minds and let go of these labels that have been holding us back for so long from understanding that we are in the battle of good versus evil. It is clear as anything. And now is the time for us to find our unique fingerprint. The unique fingerprint that you have been given is your God-given strength, and only you have that strength and that talent, and only you can do your unique job in this mission of building a world where our children and our grandchildren can live and play and dance and pray in true peace and freedom. We're surrounded by survivors, people who are compassionate, dedicated to building a beautiful future together. And in the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it's done, but we will remain hopeful. I'm going to pass the microphone and bring on Zoe Beermant, who has joined us as a digital strategist, and she is building an incredible network of voices on the internet who are doing incredible things by way of speaking up for humanity. Zoe, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. And Asaf, thank you so much for sharing your story. When we asked you, Asaf, what can we do to help, you said tell the stories. The problem is we tell the stories online and people say it's not true. We tell the stories online and we're either speaking to our own bubble of people or we aren't reaching enough people. We are reliant on algorithms. We're reliant on dissenters and people, bots and trolls coming in. There is so much misinformation online, but we have power. Each and every one of us has power. And the more people we recruit to help with the mission of telling those stories and debunking the misinformation and speaking and engaging so that we can get outside of the bubble and reach as many people as possible, the stronger we will be. And it's my mission. And as Dr. Azi said, I'm building, I hate using the word army, but it's an online support network, a community like Humanity POV is a community where I've made it my mission to help people understand every like, every comment, every interaction, every repost, every reshare helps amplify those voices and reach more people. And I tell people you can be very powerful in how you interact online. Don't go into their threads and start commenting and fighting with them in their threads, because what you're actually doing is giving them power and more visibility. Get them into your thread and talking in your thread, and the power sits with you. Every time they comment, reply, because the more people commenting within the thread of your social media posts, the more visibility you have, and you're telling the truth. And when you respond to them, you're empowering the people watching, those lurkers or anybody else who's following and engaging. You're empowering them to see more of that truth. Now it's hard. I'm not going to lie. It is hard because there's so much misinformation and there's so much negativity out there. But ask questions. Question people that throw a fact at you that you know is factually incorrect. Can you show me a source for that? I want to learn more about that number. Where can I learn more? And get them to a point where they can't answer their own questions. Which UN resolution are you talking about? And if they don't know which UN resolution, they just get trumped and they stop arguing because they realize they actually don't know enough about the subject. And what Dr. Azi was saying before, where they're just following these trends, when you just argumentative with them, then what happens is they just argue back. But if you can get them to a point where they realize that they have made a mistake or even too embarrassed to continue the discussion because they just don't know the facts, they'll walk away. They'll just, the thread goes silent. In some instances, it will just keep going and going. You can stop. You can leave it there. But your answers, every time you answer, and if it's in your own feed, you're getting more and more and more visibility. And that's the way the algorithms work, whether you're on TikTok or whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on LinkedIn or whether you're on Facebook or you're on X. Every time people comment inside what you're posting, resharing, liking and commenting on, we're getting more visibility. And that's what I want to do. I want to build a support network, a community of people that understand how to engage online and in an effective way so that we're all sharing stories like Asaf's story and getting as many people as possible to hear about it, see the human side of it and engage with each other so that we're all supporting each other.
Zoe, thank you so much for all that you're doing. And it is such an honor to be working with you on Humanity POV, where we are actively building a united network of voices to amplify truth and make forward movement and make progress. We are going to hear now from my longtime friend, and someone I respect so much, Saul Blinkoff, who is a Disney animator, and he's a keynote speaker, and he is unbelievably creative, and he can draw a portrait of your daughter in 3 seconds that looks exactly like her. I've known Saul for so long, and he's a person of great integrity, and he is an absolute master of telling stories. He's been a producer and a director on major films, and he tells an incredible bedtime story. We used to spend time together when our kids were young, and our kids would be mesmerized. And this is what we're going to talk about today. Is the power of stories is huge in terms of touching hearts and minds. Saul, I'm so honored to have you here with us today to share with us all of that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. It's so good to see you and just to be a part of this incredible panel. And Asaf, on behalf of everybody, just like Zoe said and Dr. Ozzy said, being vulnerable and sharing your courageous story with us. And I'm sure you've said it before, and please God, you'll say it again. But I know that I speak for everyone. None of us take it for granted that you shared that with us today. And we thank you for that, man. You know, we're talking about storytelling, and people think when they hear the word storytelling, it's for kids. It's bedtime stories. Stories are for kids. It's not. Because the truth is, while all of us live in different places, we are all living our own personal story. And sometimes, like right now, we get to be on the same page. All of our books have come together and we're on the same page. And I remember my first day of art school in college when I was studying to be an animator. The very first day of art school, my professor looked to all of us and he said, before you pick up a pencil, you need to have something to say. Did I need to learn the technique of drawing and animation and color and design and all those things? Yeah, those are the fundamentals that I needed to learn. But at the end of the day, none of that would matter if I didn't first have a conviction, a point of view, a message. And even though we have our diversity and we have our unity, we need to remember that each one of us has to get in touch with what it is that we want to say. There's different pain that we have in our lives. Each one of us feels different trauma and pain. And because we feel that pain, it's up to us to see that pain in others and do something about it. You know, there's a story that I remember hearing years ago. It was a true story in Auschwitz of a woman. She must have been 18, 20 years old, young woman. And she says to one of the rabbis in the camp, she says, "Rabbi, I need a knife." And the rabbi looks into her eyes and he can tell that she wants to end her life. And he says, "Don't do this. Don't let them win. Don't let the Nazis win." And as they're speaking, two Nazis hear them and they approach. And they see you talking out of turn, they'll shoot you. They'll shoot you anyway. They're murderers. And as the two Nazis approach, she sees the outline in one of their breast pockets, a knife. And she looks at one of them and demands his knife. And she says, "Give me your knife." And he can't believe that she's speaking to him this way. The other Nazi says, "You know what? Give her the knife. What's she going to do? We have guns." So they hand her the knife. She reaches down to her leg and pulls up a bundle of clothing, undoes the bundle, and inside, it's a brand new baby boy. It's her son. And she takes the knife and looks up to the heavens and she says, "God, you gave me this beautiful baby boy. And now I'm going to return him to you perfect." And with that, she took the knife and performed on her own son a Brit Milah, a circumcision. You know why? Because the kid's a Jew. And she was hiding her own son in the camp. She knew that they would kill a baby. But she's commanded in the Torah, the instruction manual for living says, you got to give your kid a bris on the 8th day. And that's exactly what she does. She gives her son a bris. And then she takes her son, who's now crying from the Brit Milah, and she puts him into the arms of the Nazi. The baby's crying. She turns to walk away. No more crying. To the back of her head. Both of them are murdered. True story. And you hear that story. Can you imagine the tears over Auschwitz that day? Can you imagine the horror? But the truth is, there's something so powerful. You know what Reb Noach Weinberg used to say? He said, if we don't know what we're willing to die for, we're not living for anything. If we don't know what we're willing to die for, we're not living for anything. So you know what we need to do? Every single one of us, choose what you're willing to die for, and now live for it. Live for it. The Jewish people are being persecuted all over the world. Anti-Semitism, that's not new. That's part of our story. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? There's one thing we need to do about it. We don't just need to be Jewish. We need to live Jewish. That means Jewish values, taking responsibility for the world. And each one of us has an obligation to do that. If we could go back to that night in Auschwitz and whisper into the ear of that woman who's putting her own son into the arms of the monster, if we could whisper into her ear, don't worry, because in not so many years, the Jewish people are going to return to our homeland. We're going to have the state of Israel. If you could whisper into her ear, don't worry, someday the Nazis are going to be gone. We're still going to be here. I'm still going to be able to live as a Jew. She wouldn't even believe you. We need to remember right now, our brothers and sisters, our hostages are still there. You know what we need to remember? We need to remember that while they're there in pain, it is our obligation to turn that pain into purpose. Purpose. Wake up purposefully every day, collectively as a people and individually. Look, I live in Hollywood. You know what that means? And I don't say this in an arrogant way. I say it in a reality way. Hollywood sets the tone for the world. Look around the world. Everyone's finding what every single Hollywood famous person eats. They're posting. Everyone knows what Kim Kardashian drives, what she wears, what perfume she wears. Everyone is obsessed with Hollywood. And like Dr. Ozzy said, yeah, Hollywood, for the most part, was silent on October 7th and since, but not all of Hollywood. Yesterday, I was speaking to a group of filmmakers and writers who are all coming together to say, how can we tell our story? And it's not just how can we tell our story, we are obligated to tell our story. Every single one of us. Before we tell that story, take a moment personally and think to yourself, I'm a Jew. Do I value being Jewish? Yeah, we always hear the phrase Jewish values. Do I value being Jewish? Because the goal for each of us has to be every single day to wake up, embrace our Jewish identity, and have that inform every moment of our day, every decision of our day. That's the obligation of what it means to be a Jew. And all of us have to share our story. And when we do that, what could be more meaningful? You know, if you ask the world, what do you want out of life? Every single person will tell you the same thing. I want a life of happiness. Everybody wants to be happy. I got something better for you than just waking up and going for happiness. Because what makes you happy may not be what's good for you. I got something better. I want you to have a year filled with goodness. Shana Tova. What does goodness mean? Purpose. When God created the world, he said, let there be light. And it was good. You know what it means? Light was fulfilling its purpose. Each one of us has to take a good look inside and figure out, what are my goals every day? Am I just going for happiness? Or am I going for purpose? Each one of us has a unique perspective, and it's our obligation to share that with the world. When? Every single day. Thanks for allowing me to share some ideas with you. And I will tell you, being in Hollywood and working with lots of filmmakers, we are all working tirelessly, coming up with stories, filmmakers coming out of the woodwork, and they're stepping up. And it's been really beautiful.
Saul, thank you so much for words of inspiration.
Thank you.
It's absolutely so beautiful to hear all of the good things that are going on. And we are going to continue this conversation, and I'm going to bring on my good friend, Jessica Nomi Spain-Levy. She's an incredible wellness coach, and she understands our physiology and she understands our minds. And she herself has an absolutely incredible story. I'm going to let her tell that herself. But Nomi, I just want to thank you so much for being here and for being who you are.
Thank you so much. That's the most heartwarming introduction. I really appreciate it. First of all, Asaf, thank you so much for telling your story and for sharing with everybody. It's so important for us to hear your voice and to see your face and to hear what you went through and to hear a voice that can represent those who are still in Gaza and those who aren't here to speak today. So thank you. Zoe, I was writing down notes. I love the tips that you gave. Saul, you should have been last because I feel like keynote speaker should have gone last, like bing. So first, a little bit about me, not the professional me, but the personal me. So I didn't grow up Jewish. I'm half Korean. I was adopted by an American, Midwestern, Irish, and German Catholic family and raised in the Midwest until I moved to Hong Kong at 19. And somehow I ended up in Israel about 19 years ago. So I didn't grow up with Holocaust survivor parents or stories of anti-Semitism. And I can't be, sometimes I think when I see today is rampant anti-Semitism in the world online since October 7th. I haven't felt safe online personally, and it's real and it's scary. It is not like something that we have been oversensitized to. I didn't grow up with this. It's in my face. It's something that I see every single time I get online, every single time I read comments. And so it's so important for us to show up here and to put out a different message. It really always, it makes me so proud how I live in Israel. It makes me really proud to see how everybody's come together and to see the unity, and even to drive down the highway and to just see flag after flag after flag, or to drive by the Israel library and to see all these flags and to be reminded that we have this amazing morale and spirit that hasn't been crushed after thousands and thousands of years, and it's still not going to be crushed, and we're still going to be showing up. And so I was thinking today about actual practical tips for everybody, not just for people who are the big voices out there and have a larger reach, but even people who have a smaller reach and just want to be able to advocate for Israel in the way that they can. So I came up with a few little ideas that we could all do, practical tips, that I think it goes very much in line with when I'm, as a clinical nutritionist, when I'm talking about nutrition, I'm always saying take small steps. So I've got some small steps that we can each do that will contribute to the larger collective story. Before I go into those, I want to share one quote that has kept me going over the last few weeks. And that's a quote from Jewish educator Lori Palatnik. And she says, "When all of the voices of darkness in the world unite to eliminate you, there's a good chance you are probably the light. Keep shining, Am Yisrael." And so coming together today, all of us, is a way to be collective light. It's to bring our small light together, our individual light, our purpose, like Saul said, and to become a collective light, to shed this, to give this light over and share it with the world. So I was thinking of a few things that we could all do, and one of the things I actually did today. So the first thing I wanted to say, as somebody who grew up not Jewish and having lots of relatives, I did a DNA test, and I also now just found out in August that I have like a whole set of Korean relatives that didn't know where I was for 38 years. I'm just saying there's like so many people out there who are supporting us that I never even would have known if DNA, that 23andMe test, that's a long story. Anyways, so the first thing I want to say is non-Jewish voices that are out there supporting us, we need to show them some appreciation. If you see somebody out there who says something beneficial, says something that advocates for us. One of the things I saw today was a clip from a representative speaking to Congress. He is a representative from Utah. His name is Congressman Burgess Owens, and he was speaking out against anti-Semitism today in Congress. It took me all of 30 seconds to find his profile on Instagram and to send him a message. I don't know if he'll see it, but just to say thank you so much for what you said, and to comment on some of his posts, and just to say thank you for speaking up for the Jewish people. So that's one thing that anybody can do, whether they're just on Instagram as kind of an observer and content and enjoying, or they're a bigger voice. I think that gratitude on a spiritual level, whatever religion we are, even on a scientific level, the physiological effects of gratitude are far reaching. And so just putting that gratitude, it's good for us, it's good for everybody, and it helps to bring in more voices that want to speak and need that recognition and validation that their point, that what they're saying is worthy of being heard and that it supports us. Number two, hopefully Lily's going to give us like a PDF and we're going to have tips that I can put on the bulletin board of my office.
We have a humanity POV PDF coming out for everyone.
I love that.
After this event.
Good. I need that, because I'm going to say this: protect your energy, curate your life. You have to know what you can handle. I personally, within 48 hours of what happened on October 7th, being in the bomb shelter with my family and friends and our guests, and then hearing the news and not knowing what to do. Could we leave the house? What's going on? going to community watch meetings, learning how to deal with terrorists and what items you need in your home if there's an invasion in your neighborhood. Within 48 hours, I got very disturbing messages from people that I consider colleagues, personally attacking me, telling me they're unfollowing me simply because I acknowledged that we were safe, we're living in Israel, and that, you know, the IDF is doing its job or whatever it was. I didn't even say anything controversial. And I felt so unsafe after getting attacked like that. So I want to say this: protect your energy, know what you can handle, know what's triggering for you. Don't feed into the negative energy. But at the same time that we're dealing with all of this, our central nervous system needs to feel safe because we are in this for the long run. The anti-Semitism that we see today is not going to disappear when the IDF is finished in January or June or whatever it is. This is the new normal. It is socially acceptable to be an anti-Semite. And unfortunately, a Harvard-Harris poll showed that 51% of people between the ages of 18 to 24 believe that the attacks by Hamas were justified. And this is a poll coming from America. So if we understand what is 51% of that population, that young population, that future of America, we are in this for the long run. Know what you can handle, know how to handle social media in a way that isn't upsetting and damaging to you on a physiological level. I've had to unfriend people and I've had to delete posts that were bots because I will not argue with robots. I have teenagers. I'm not arguing with robots. The other thing is put your face out there. Asaf, thank you for showing up. We need faces. Hamas hides behind masks. Hamas hides behind bot accounts. We need to see the faces. Everybody keep showing up. We need also, me personally, I need to see you guys because I want to connect with you and I want to feel safe to show up. And when you show up, Meira, Sal, Zoe, Asaf, everybody, Azi, when you show up, I feel safe showing up. So if you show up and you speak truth and you speak peace and we all come together with that light, with that purpose, then we all are more productive and we also feel safer and seen. Thank you so much, Azi, for letting me share my perspective.
Nomi, it is such an honor to have you here, and it's such a fascinating story how you chose to convert to Judaism and you chose to move to Israel, and you have close connections with so many people of so many different faiths, including your family around the world. You also faced tremendous anti-Semitism from your own colleagues. It was only since about last summer that you started coming on camera and really sharing. You've had an unbelievable following show up and really rally around you once you started just speaking. That's all you had to do is come on and share. And I want to know from you, for so many people who are sitting here who are like, I have so much to say and I know I want to say things, but I'm too scared. I can't do it. How do you do this?
Well, Azi, honestly, you're really encouraging. Just showing up how you are and sharing your story. And it's very validating. Every person who shows up as themselves makes it safer for everybody else to show up as themselves. So I appreciate every unique story and all of the connection that I've had with people who just really are a mirror of what I want to do in this world and how they show up. The most important thing for me in sort of like getting comfortable and getting authentic was there were some practical tips, like just journaling and sort of getting through the blocks that were holding me back. I did like 5 years of therapy, you know, I turned 40. Like there's all of these things that happen as you get a little bit older where you just get really comfortable with yourself. But I would say the one thing when it came to social media was also just showing up consistently and putting my face out there. And like, you know, I see a difference between my first reels where I was like sitting in a chair and like, and now the other day I was like doing squats with a raw chicken. No, a turkey. It was 10 kilos. So it was great for squats. So I think there's just like getting to the point where you let who you are really show through and not feeling like you have to play safe to your immediate audience, which is often your family and friends or your colleagues. And also putting out your message with positivity. I'm a big fan of that. I do think that positivity, we connect with it more. I used to tell my kids when they were little, I have 4 boys, the angry person loses. And I think that showing up and just being mad online is kind of what a lot of the pro-Hamas group is doing. There's just a lot of like anger but really what we need to do is we just need to like show up with our positivity. And when I look at what's going on in my country, when I see the Israeli soldiers, when I see all of the positivity out there, it's so invigorating. And that's what we need to do. That is our job between each other, is to keep this amazing energy going and to just keep it flowing with each other. And if you know you're putting that out online and people say like, hey, thanks for making me laugh, that is very encouraging.
I can say as a witness that you've been really clear about your purpose, and your purpose in the work that you do in the wellness space is really saving lives. You know, You know me, you help people with all kinds of health issues. That is a very clear purpose. Similarly, right now, as we're all uniting, whether you're Jewish or you're an ally of Israel and really an ally of humanity, if you're sitting here with us or you're listening on any of the channels, you too can get so clear on your purpose. We want to ensure, every single one of us, a brighter future for humanity. What kind of a world do we want our children to live in? I want my children to be able to go to peace festivals. I want my grandchildren to go to peace festivals with the young Iranians who are fighting for their freedom right now. Freedom. This is what we all want. And we're really fighting for our lives as a Jewish people, and we're fighting for the freedom of humanity. Think about one thing that makes you so angry, and that when you scratch beneath the surface of that anger and you ask yourself, why does it make me so angry? That you're going to find your unique purpose, as unique as your fingerprint. And no longer will you have to succumb to any of those voices, any of the mind drama that says, maybe I don't know enough. I don't have the credentials. I'm not going to sound right. I'm not going to look right. What is somebody going to think of me? Because ultimately, the purpose matters too much. I'm going to bring on my POV colleagues here for a minute. We want to let you all know that we are working very hard behind the scenes. Pre-October 7th, I was planning all kinds of things. And then I woke up on the morning of October 7th to a new reality. Not only were we starting the Torah anew, we were starting a world anew, a world in which our eyes were just ripped wide open. We are sad, we are angry, we are devastated, and yet we are hopeful and we are resolute. Conversation after conversation led me to people who want to put their hearts and minds together to make a meaningful difference. Telling the stories such as Asaf's, bringing on the voices to inspire, having a tactical strategy like Zoe spoke about with social media, and doing the activism and bringing the people together like Meira is doing on all of her social media channels.
We have a list that just continues to get bigger and bigger of smaller influencers and bigger influencers. Some of them are fully in the space of pro-Israel, and some of them are just general accounts. We really want to be able to amplify smaller voices that are more diverse. We also want to hear voices that are not just Jewish, people that were impacted by the conflict, whether it's Arab Israelis, whether it's Palestinians who are impacted by Hamas. We're trying to show people with stories and with faces that what they believe, what they're seeing and what they're learning to believe is not necessarily true. We also really want to be able to react to what's happening in real time. By having this really great network of people, we can have people's voices reacting to current events. That's another one of our goals. And we have many, many other ideas. We're really excited to get it launched pretty soon.
We need to stand up in the face of that hatred. We want to create networks. We want you to be a part of them. And we want to get organized and united and keep making a difference. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, for listening. And again, to Asaf and to Saul and to Nomi for coming on here and speaking. And Asaf, having the courage to share your testimony. You have changed lives. I invite you to consider one thing you want to do, one story you want to share, maybe one conversation that you want to have after having listened to Asaf's story. And from having been here tonight, I really believe that the world will be changed when we believe in the possibility that it can, and when we have the conversations and we fight to make the connections across borders. That is when we can unite and we can create something that needs to happen so desperately. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Asaf. Thank you so much. You're a hero.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.